The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the soul of excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
I mean, in some of these instances, these are groups that have been either their membership has been dismantled or they've definitely fallen out of public view. I'm just wondering the legal theory of how, these payments allegedly went on to actually benefit the groups. Did you see the money go to the groups themselves rather than just the individuals who were paid informants, essentially? And then I have an off-topic after.
So look, I want to be careful to keep any comments that we make inside the indictment. And so what the indictment lays out is payments to individuals who had leadership positions within these organizations. If that's what the grand jury found. And so to the extent that those individuals receiving, one received over $1 million, okay, to the extent over several years, to the extent that there's any link between that individual receiving the money and benefits to that organization, that's not in the indictment. But because again, it's not that individual who's charged with a crime. It's that individual was a informant or what have you. And it's Southern Poverty Law Center that made those payments to the individual. But it wasn't, look, the payments were not made to these individuals in exchange for a service separate and apart from their work within these organizations. So, that's I think speaks for itself.
It speaks volumes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. There are so many things going on in the news today. You've got the continued hostilities, taking of ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Peace talks, don't know whether they're going to happen or not. The president's patience apparently wearing thin. This latest ceasefire, he says, 3 to 5 days. We got the Iran stuff. But what is happening with this Southern Poverty Law Center is huge. It is huge. And I've gotten calls today from very dear friends, don't agree with me politically, asking a few questions about it and giving me some opinions on it. It is being portrayed, of course, as Trump attacking. Chuck Schumer today said that this ought to send a chill down every spine of Americans. What ought to send a chill is what has been uncovered. The U.S. Department of... Welcome, by the way. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. The U.S. Department of Justice announced an indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center, accusing the group of covertly directing millions of dollars to individuals tied to white supremacist and other organizations. Now, the SPLC is supposed to be fighting against those organizations, supposedly. Yet millions of dollars from their donors end up with individuals from this group into these organizations. Now, as you heard Todd Blanche say in the opening remarks, He's staying within the boundaries of what's in the indictment. But what we can assume is that some of that money was used to fund some of the group's missions. And who are these groups? They are hate groups. They are hate groups, some of them. Questions now are even being raised. Was this whole thing in Charlotte that Joe Biden went off of, that the press willfully misrepresented Donald Trump's response to and used it as a campaign talking point and as a campaign point? Was this a false flag operation that, in fact, was funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center? Don't know the answer to that yet, but the questions are being raised. So one of the calls that I got this morning was like, well, wait a minute. On behalf of law enforcement does this. They infiltrate groups and they spend money with these groups and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but Southern Poverty Law Center is not a law enforcement group. And if you are a law enforcement group and you're doing infiltrations, you are also not allowed to commit crimes. You're not allowed to be a participant in the crimes. That doesn't work, doesn't fly. So this is really amazing what has taken place. Who is this organization? The left reveres them because they have made targets of conservatives. And conservatives that are not hate groups. Turning Point USA, smeared by this group. Moms for Liberty, smeared by this group as a hate group. There are lawsuits flying about that. Todd Blanche. Let's go back and listen to what he actually said about it during his press conference. Cut 2. This is the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche on, no, hold on. I got to get to that one. That's late breaking. Let's start with cut 3. And this is where he's explaining what Southern Poverty Law Center was doing.
According to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with one count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation. This investigation is
now,
ongoing.
Let's go back. Let's connect this really clearly, folks. Southern Poverty Law Center said they were fighting white supremacist groups and hate groups. That's our job. We're here to stamp out. We're here to help eradicate those groups. They sent money to those groups. Those groups then did what they did. Whether it's, public route, whatever they did, the work of hate is what they did, because that's what they do. And then Southern Poverty Law Center reported on the hate. Look at what these white supremacists are doing. We're here to stop the white supremacists. Give us more money. They're funding the evil, if you want to call it that. It is alleged, I should say, that they have been funding the very evil that they were sworn to eradicate. And that is, and in the process, used shell corporations with no employees. Let's just figure out a clever way to pass the money through so it doesn't come back to us. But they took donors' money to help fight, allegedly, hate groups, sent the money to the hate groups, and then reported on what the hate groups were doing as a way to justify their own existence. It is despicable. Some of the people that have been hurt by this. Let us check in with one such person of a group, Scarlett Johnson. Cut 6. She did her own stand-up report after this indictment was unsealed and the presser.
There was a breaking announcement today. The Southern Poverty Law Center was just indicted by a federal grand jury. The Department of Justice and FBI announced 11 total indictments for fraud. There were allegations of wire fraud, bank fraud, and a money laundering conspiracy. For those of us in Moms for Liberty, this announcement hits close to home. We were labeled, targeted, we were placed on a hate map, not for violence, not for extremism, for speaking up and standing up for our children, for fighting for parental rights, for demanding accountability and transparency in education. For these things, we were called the worst possible names. They were lies, all lies. We warned that these labels weren't just inaccurate. They carried real, dangerous consequences. Now, with federal scrutiny intensifying, Americans deserve real transparency. This isn't about politics. It's about truth. It's about accountability and making sure no parent is ever silenced and harassed in this manner just for standing up for their child. We always say that sunlight is the best disinfectant. The sunlight is here. Let's see what it reveals about the SPLC. It's time for a reckoning.
And let's see what it also reveals about the mainstream press if we didn't know. Cut 7. Michael Steele and that Simone whatever name, Simone.
Legs, unfortunately.
It is. They've gone after the Southern Poverty Law Center, but not the KKK. They've gone after the people, the civil rights organizations, but not the actual extremist groups.
They just freed the Proud Boys. What do you expect them to do?
You're right, Michael. Well, excuse me, I forgot who we're dealing with.
Thank you.
They're on the side of the extremists, it feels like.
No, they're on the side of racists and people who undermine the very principles of the country. And they have been from the very beginning, because that's where Donald Trump has always nurtured himself. Bottom line.
Michael Steele, who used to be the chairman of the Republican National Committee, he used to trash Rush. And Rush is the one that helped put him on the map. Rush listeners sent money to Michael Steele when the party when he was running for governor and was being ignored in Maryland. And he turned on Rush. He's turned on every Republican that he can think of. This guy is just amazing. And this has nothing to do with the facts of the case. They hear, it's a civil rights organization. It was a civil rights organization that was funding extremist hate. so that they could get more donations, apparently, by reporting on it. And yet what you get from Michael Steele and this Simone person over at MS Now, well, they picked on them, but not the KKK. This is insanity. We're not done with this.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
And yesterday, we talked about this hit piece that Atlantic did on Kash Patel. And I said yesterday, look, folks, it smacks to me of an organized effort. It's a political hit. That's what it smacks to me. I explained all that. Oh, my gosh. Jonas has on a tie like the good old days when he first started. Anyway, I said, this is a hit. And by the end of the show, when we started talking about what was coming with Southern, I said, now I understand the reason for the hit. It's this Southern Poverty Law Center indictment. That's why they're trying to hit Kash Patel, discredit the FBI, discredit him. He was at the presser yesterday. Listen, cut 5. Kash, if we have time, listen.
After you were unable to log into the system.
Let's have a survey. How many of you people believe that's true? Hang on.
Did you communicate?
You asked the question. Let me answer it.
No, let me.
No.
Did you communicate with anyone that you thought you were fired after you were unable to log into?
The problem with you and your report. Don't cut me off. You asked the question.
Straightforward question.
The problem with you and your baseless reporting is that is an absolute lie. It was never said. It never happened. And I will serve in this administration as long as the president and the attorney general want me to do so. And every time you guys report false lies, every time you guys raise baseless questions, when we are here to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center's $3 million decade-long scheme to fraudulently fleece Americans, you are off topic.
It's a simple, straightforward question. Did you talk to anybody about whether you thought
the
you were
simple
fired?
answer to your question is you are lying, and every time you do so, I've answered your question. It's simply as follows. I was never locked out of my systems. Anybody who says
your lawsuit says the opposite. Your lawsuit
anyone that says the opposite is lying. Thank you.
The lawsuit that you filed says that
Look,
directly.
man, stop. You're being extraordinarily rude. And I know maybe that's part of your profession, but please just stop. If you ask a question, he can answer it.
He won't stop. We'll be back. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
The process of political gerrymandering, I think, is damaging to Congress. I don't think the insiders should draw the lines and decide who their voters are. Because I think that and Democrats and Republicans do this, and it's great for incumbents, but it means over time that people aren't competing for the center because they know that if they win a Democratic primary or Republican primary, they've won. So it pushes parties away from compromise in the center.
Short answer is no. Certainly, Virginia, by constitutional amendment, has a new redistricting effort that was put in place and first utilized after in the 2021 redistricting. Certainly, I've been watching with interest what other states are doing, but I have no plans to redistrict Virginia.
Yeah, Obama complaining about gerrymandering. Governor Abigail Spanberger in 2025 last year. Oh, I have no plans to redistrict. It's been going on ever since Democrats decided they were Democrats. They tell you one thing and they do another. Birthday today for Paul Carrack, English singer-songwriter who was a member of ACE. He was also a member of Mike and the Mechanics and worked with such known artists as Elton John, The Pretenders, B.B. King. Played keyboards with the Smiths. Happy birthday, Paul Carrick. One of my favorite songs. Never get tired of hearing Ace. James Golden, Snerdley. Okay, so you know what happened in Virginia despite all of that talk. They redistricting is, there's something I wanted to play from this. Okay, here it is. Look, Virginia may pick up 5 seats. It's almost a 50-50 election, by the way. It was close, fairly close. 2 or 3 point difference. But what Democrats did is just stomped on Republicans. They just stomped them out. Like they do in so many other states, like Massachusetts and others, where Republicans are not even represented. They just kicked them in the cojones. And they turned around and kicked them in the rear. And then when they fell, they kicked them when they were on the ground, stomped on them. That's what Democrats did politically to Republicans yesterday. And don't forget it. Now, let us also acknowledge something here, folks. Had Texas not done what it did, this current wave wouldn't have started. James, that sounds like you don't... Oh, I support it, all right. No, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm just acknowledging the realities. Okay? Now, we had some GOP people in Indiana that could have done, but they didn't. Donald Trump, by the way, supporting primaries for the people, primary challenges for some of the state lawmakers that didn't cooperate in Indiana. Florida is reconvening their legislature. And here's The Hill. I read The Hill. And one thing about The Hill I notice all the time, all the headlines, most, not all, some of them are different, but very often you'll see headlines like this. Republicans fear succession of government shutdowns under Trump. There's a growing concern among GOP senators that even if Congress fund ICE and Border Patrol for the next 3.5 years, Democrats will provoke a fight in September to trigger yet another government shut. Who cares? This one. Republicans warn DeSantis. Florida redistricting push fraught with peril. Florida Republicans are barreling ahead with a high-stakes redistricting session as the party looks to offset Democrats' new maps in Virginia. State lawmakers in the Sunshine State are yet to convene next week in what is widely seen as the GOP's last chance to redraw congressional maps before the midterm election, the November midterms. The effort, however, has some Republicans warning Governor DeSantis to tread lightly. Oh, please don't. Please. Pointing to recent Democrat wins across the state, as well as the Florida's Constitution, clear anti-gerrymandering language. That didn't stop California, did it? Didn't stop Virginia. Doesn't stop Democrats, but oh no, Republicans are warning, please don't do this. Please let the Democrats have their way with us. I'm not buying it. Yeah, there may be a few nattering voices out there, but I'm not buying it. By the way, if you think that the Virginia deal is over, it's not over yet. Cut 12, Carl Cannon, who is the Washington editor for Real Clear Politics, had a brilliant analysis. Let's listen in to his analysis.
And it says just what Tom says, to restore fairness. And as I'm looking at that, I think that this is going to go to the United States Supreme Court. This is Orwellian language. intended to deceive voters. Now, when you say, it's a talking point, restore fairness, what they mean is restore fairness writ large. They restore fairness nationally. They mean Virginia is going to be the antidote to Texas. Of course, California was supposed to be the antidote to Texas. As a talking point, restore fairness makes sense. What you're saying is we want the national elections to be fair. But language like that in a constitutional amendment, in a referendum, when you're going in there reading it, it's intended to deceive voters. And I think my guess is the courts are going to look at this very closely. Did voters really know what they were getting? Because it is not intended within Virginia to restore fairness at all. It's intended to abrogate fairness. It is intended to be unfair. A lot of the problems sensible centrist Democrats have here is controlling the far left of the party, which controls things. Republicans have been essentially disenfranchised. And when you draw lines like this, it affects your state politics for generations to come. It is very unhealthy. If you cared about democracy, which Democrats say they do, you would fight this instead of push it.
Yeah, well, okay. Cut 13 very quickly. Let's listen in on that.
Has compact districts. It's done in a way that makes a lot of sense. And the reality is if you look at like California, they're doing all this dog and pony show there now, saying, oh, Texas, we've got to combat Texas. California is one of the worst gerrymandered maps there is. What they did, this is how they do. They're like, no, we're going to do an independent commission. So they do a commission. The problem is, it's like if you truly were independent, it's like you would be immune to any type of partisan pressures. But that commission is comprised of liberal Democrats, liberal independents, and very liberal Republicans. I think one of the Republicans is from Berkeley, like not exactly a hotbed of Reagan conservatism. It is what it is. So they hotwired that independent commission to produce a map that was very much gerrymandered and was not something that was fair to Republicans even at that time. Now they're saying they want to do even more by doing whatever they're talking about doing now. So
and that was before they added the 5 seats. So they added 5 seats. They rigged it up. And DeSantis is now, he and Hakeem Jeffries are having a war of words. I will have some of that tomorrow. It was too close to the show for me to ask the guys to pull it up with all the other stuff we have here, which we're struggling to get to everything. So and forgive the shorthand. I'd love to spend more time on this because this gerrymandering business, folks, I tell you, I would love to see a total shakedown of American politics. I would love to see it. I would love to see an AI map that fairly distributes districts regardless of party and what party looks like. I would love to see what that map would look like, just for fun. We ought to do that sometime. Make that a project. Okay, want to move on to a few other things, folks. We'll have more on the redistricting. Can't wait to talk with Princess Diana as soon as I can on this and the Southern poverty indictment and some of the other things going on in the news. There's a huge fight going on in Tejas. And this is the way to do it. In Houston, in Austin, and Dallas, the liberals there decided that they were going to side with ICE. They were going to go up against ICE again and stop their police from waiting for ICE to show up, despite making agreements with the state that they would do so, follow the law pretty much. Cut 15, Greg Abbott not having it.
Correspondent Brooke Taylor has the story tonight from Dallas.
A major shift in policy in Houston. Police are no longer required to wait up to 30 minutes for federal agents when they encounter someone with an ICE warrant. State leaders are fighting back. Attorney General Ken Paxton suing the city, posting on X, quote, "Under my watch, no Texas city will be a safe harbor for illegals." The legal fight comes after Houston City Council passed a new ordinance last week limiting local police cooperation with ICE.
Today, if someone is pulled over and there is an administrative warrant, they have to issue the ticket And once that ticket is issued, the individual must be let go.
Governor Greg Abbott pushing back hard.
If the city council was serious about public safety, they would not allow illegal immigrants to roam their streets and kill people like Jocelyn Nungary.
Jocelyn's the 12-year-old girl assaulted and killed in 2024. 2 illegal migrants from Venezuela are charged with her murder. Abbott sending a clear message: comply with immigration enforcement or lose millions. The governor is pulling $110 million in public safety grants.
The city of Houston signed an agreement to get money from the state of Texas that required Houston to comply with the Department of Homeland Security programs about detaining illegal immigrants.
And Houston may not be alone, with Governor Abbott sending warning letters to Austin and Dallas saying they could also lose millions if officers don't comply with ICE. Dallas has nearly $90 million in grants on the line, and Austin $2.5 million. The letter states if the city fails to comply, the governor's public safety office could terminate grants, and the city must return all funds. And this pressure, it seems to be working because Houston's mayor has set up a special meeting for next week to reconsider this policy. Over in Dallas, they said that they are going to comply. And Austin's mayor says he won't play into, quote, political theater, but says his officers will comply with the state requirements. Trace.
Boom. This is the way, that's the Mandalorian line. This is the way. This is the way. Yes, my friends. This is the way. Quickly moving on to something else here. Very quickly, cut 14. Did you know about this method? Another cheating, fraudulent, stealing routine.
We are here.
U.S. Janine Pirro.
It's a 15-count indictment handed up yesterday in federal district court involving an international auto theft ring. They don't need keys, and they don't need hot wiring, no smashed windows, no drama. Just a sleek electronic device called an AUTEL, A-U-T-E-L. And in under a minute, the car's brain is rewritten. The car is gone in 60 seconds. Welcome to the new world of car theft.
Amazing. So there's an indictment on that. I had never heard of this method of stealing cars, but this is apparently a big deal, international car theft. Let's talk about more cheating, by the way. There's a woman who is she is the head of the hospice and Palliative Care Association. Her name is Sheila Clark. She was testifying in Congress about what we've seen out in California. She asked a very simple question. Cut 8, Sheila Clark, explaining what's happening, part of what's happening out in California.
You'd be amazed at how many hospices, the door you can walk up to in California, and there is nobody there. There is 5 months worth of mail that you can see stacked up from CMS, and nobody's there. And that passed a survey. How did that happen? How do you put a hospice in a burrito stand in California? How do you put a hospice in a tire store in California? That all had to be vetted through licensure and through certification and accreditation.
Man, I tell you what. And what we didn't have time for today, like I said, we got the DeSantis, Hakeem Jeffries, Donald Trump. We've got, I want you to hear something later in the week if we can. There's Governor Andy Beshear. He's a Kentucky governor. And man, this guy is strongly running for president. And I got something from him. Also, Mark Cuban and others. Anyway, James Golden, Snerdley with you. Fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Oh, Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden.
And two quick things here on this whole Virginia redistricting thing before we get out of here. Former Representative MTG Marjorie Taylor Greene is blaming Donald Trump for it. Virginia just voted to redraw House district lines, taking their state from 6D to eliminating 4 Republican seats. A once red state is turning into the blue states now because people don't want to support Republicans now. Trump betraying the American first wing of MAGA is going to have devastating consequences in the midterms. I've been warning about this all along. And then she came through a whole laundry list of her anti-Trump stuff. Also, now this one. With the Virginia vote, Democrats gained the edge over Trump. All right, so when you add up all the redistricting stuff that's been done, Democrats are up 1 seat. And that's it. And Florida has yet to weigh in. You know every time this song comes on, I talk about how much I love this song. I always love this song. Glenn Campbell has a heavenly birthday today. Country singer, songwriter, TV presenter, rhinestone cowboy. By the time I get to Phoenix, this one is my favorite of them, all of his songs. I just love this song. Oh, man. He was a session musician. He worked with Bobby Darin, Ricky Nelson, Monkees, Elvis, Frank Sinatra. Strangers on the Night. That's him strumming the guitar. He lost the Righteous Brothers, the Monkees. He passed away from Alzheimer's in 2017. He was 81 years old. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back tomorrow. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Oh, it's out of here! Home run Ferry Hawks! Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball. Join us Friday, April 24th through Sunday, April 26th for our first homestand of the season and our 5th anniversary celebration. Score big with $5 tickets. Grab $5 domestic draft beers. Enjoy $5 popcorn. And yes, 2 Nathan's hot dogs for just $5. Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.